Have you ever clenched something so tightly that it slipped right through your fingers anyway? We don't hold on because we're stubborn. We hold on because we're scared. Somewhere, deep in the folds of our nervous system, we believe that loosening our grip means losing what we love, or who we think we are. And so we tighten, we plan, we push, we strive, all in the name of staying safe, even if it costs us our peace. Letting go has become one of those beautiful phrases that sounds enlightened but feels terrifying in practice. Because how do you release what you've built your whole identity around? How do you let go of the outcome when your heart is stitched to the result? Most people don't resist life. They resist the moment they might lose control. But here's the quiet truth. Control isn't power. It's fear wearing a mask. Control is what we reach for when we've forgotten how to trust. And in that forgetting, we block the very flow we're trying to attract. There's a sacred intelligence running through everything, through your heartbeat, through your breath, through the timing of your life. And it doesn't respond to pressure, it responds to resonance. It doesn't move because you chase it. It moves because you're aligned with it. Neville Goddard once said, "You don't make manifestations happen. You enter the state of already having them." That means you stop creating from lack. You stop trying to force a future through the clenched fists of your past. You imagine, and then you embody, not by effort, but by frequency. Joe Dispenza reminds us that the future can't be born from the emotional signature of the past, that the self who is waiting is not the self who creates. Letting go is not about giving up your dream. It's about giving up your doubt. It's about giving the universe a chance to breathe through you, because if you hold sand too tightly, it slips away. If you fixate too hard, you collapse the wave. And if you obsess over making it happen, your nervous system is already declaring, "It's not possible for me." That urgency you feel, it's not alignment, it's unhealed fear wrapped in spiritual ambition. So what does real trust sound like? It doesn't scream, it doesn't rush, it doesn't panic. Real trust is silent, spacious, magnetic. And here's the question that leads us forward. If you let go, do you lose the dream? Or do you finally become the one who can receive it? You say you want peace. You say you want love. You say you want ease. And yet, somewhere inside, your breath is shallow. Your thoughts are spinning. Your chest is tight. There's a tension beneath the desire, a frequency beneath the words. And the universe responds not to what you say, but to what you are. This is the conflict no one talks about. The silent war between your longing and your vibration, between what your lips ask for and what your nervous system fears to receive. Neville said it simply, feeling is the secret, not hope, not begging, not mental rehearsal dressed as faith. Feeling, the kind that wraps around your bones and says, "It's already done." The kind that lives not in your affirmations, but in your silence. But here's the science. The amygdala doesn't lie. When your body senses lack, it sends out signals of survival. That very act of needing it too much tells your brain, it's not real, it's not safe, it's not here. So you try harder, visualize longer, script every detail until it hurts. But now, you're not manifesting from creation, you're pleading from contraction. Energy doesn't flow from desperation. It moves through coherence, through congruence, through the sacred match between what you ask for and what you believe you're allowed to receive. And this is where it gets subtle, because urgency can wear a spiritual costume. You think you're being disciplined, committed, high vibe, but beneath that polished devotion lives a quiet terror, the fear that if you stop trying, it will all slip away. But real alignment doesn't chase. It rests, it knows, and that knowing, pure, grounded, embodied, is what bends reality. So if your desire still feels far away, maybe it's not because you're doing it wrong. Maybe it's because your vibration is still saying, "I don't believe it's mine." That's not failure. That's a signal, a sacred invitation to stop performing your desire and start becoming it. Letting go is not what it seems. It's not passive. It's not vague. And it's definitely not weakness. Letting go, when understood through the lens of neuroscience and the soul, is one of the most powerful choices you can make. It's not a sigh of surrender. It's a rewiring of your inner world. Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches that every time you choose presence over worry, you reprogram your brain's predictive model. That model is what your nervous system uses to decide what's safe, what's possible, what's you. And most of that map, it was drawn in childhood. etched in trauma, reinforced by repetition. So when you let go of your obsession with how and when, you're not giving up. You're giving your brain a new rhythm, a new reference point, a new reality. And yes, at first, it feels empty because the mind has been trained to equate effort with progress, tension with control, and obsession with faith. But that's not how the quantum field works. That's not how alignment works. Letting go is choosing the now over the haunted future your body learned to expect. It's choosing breath over analysis. It's choosing stillness over mental rehearsals that never lead to peace. It may seem small, but there is immense power in the quiet act of pausing, of breathing in the moment and saying, I'm safe right now. I don't need to perform the future. This choice, made again and again, is what deconditions the fear loop. It's what tells the limbic system we're not in danger anymore. A simple 90-second breath can reset the emotional storm, not by fixing it, but by witnessing it. Not by escaping the fear, but by refusing to let it run the show. Because letting go is not abandonment of the dream. It is the anchoring of your nervous system in the frequency that the dream already exists. More vision boards, more scripts, more hours spent visualizing the future you crave. It feels like devotion. It looks like focus, but often it's something else entirely. It's fear, dressed in ritual. It's the subtle panic that if you don't keep imagining it, the dream will vanish. That if you stop repeating it, the universe will forget. But the truth is, real creation doesn't need to be shouted. The soul doesn't yell. It knows. Hypervisualization can become a trap, a beautiful, glittering prison where desire is always just out of reach and you are always not quite enough. When you force yourself to re-script the outcome every day, it doesn't necessarily deepen your alignment. Sometimes it just amplifies your disbelief. Because true manifestation isn't about convincing the universe. It's about becoming such a resonant match that convincing becomes unnecessary. And that's where letting go takes on its real meaning. To let go isn't to abandon your vision. It's to merge with it so completely that you no longer need to check whether it's on the way. You no longer count the signs. You no longer hold your breath. Because the state of having has become more natural than the state of waiting. There's a reason we don't dig up seeds to check if they're growing. It's because we know that's how we kill them. The same law applies to your dreams. When you stop trying to control the outcome and start embodying the presence of it, when you rest into the knowing that the desire was planted for a reason, the field begins to respond. Quietly, organically, in its own timing, because the quantum responds not to pressure, but to coherence. And coherence is born from trust, not control. There are agreements written deep inside you, and most of them you never consciously made. They were shaped in silence, in glances, in the moments you didn't feel chosen, safe, or seen. And now, even as you ask for a higher life, those old agreements echo in your nervous system like vows you forgot you made. I'm the one who always has to work harder. I'm the one who gets left behind. I'm the one who's not quite enough. These are not facts. They are frequencies, carried through time by a body that has simply learned to protect you the only way it knew how. By expecting struggle, by normalizing pain, by preparing for disappointment so you'd never be blindsided again. But manifestation doesn't respond to history. It responds to identity. And identity is not just what you think, it's what your cells believe you are. That's why no affirmation can override a nervous system that still clings to the identity of the struggler. That's why no vision board can override the inner child who learned that love only comes when you suffer for it. There was a woman once, brilliant, kind, radiant. She wanted love more than anything, but every time someone came close, she pulled away. Not because she didn't want connection, but because struggle had become safety. Her body associated peace with danger. Her heart didn't trust ease. So she kept signing a contract she didn't know she was holding. Love must be earned through pain. But then something shifted. Not because she tried harder, but because she finally stopped trying to deserve it. She started choosing presence over programming, safety over pattern, breath over defense, and slowly the contract dissolved. You don't have to relive your past to rewrite it. You only have to stop rehearsing it. And in that quiet choice, made moment by moment, a new agreement begins to form. One written not in trauma, but in truth, not in fear, but in frequency. You're not the one who always struggles. You're the one who remembers. and chooses again. Surrender is one of the most misunderstood words in the spiritual lexicon. To many, it sounds like passivity, like weakness, like stepping back from the life you've worked so hard to shape. But real surrender is not an absence of desire. It's the refinement of it. It is not the abandonment of dreams, but the precision of emotional clarity. You do not surrender the dream. You surrender the tension. You do not release the vision. You release the grasping, the countdown, the fear that it won't come unless you push harder. There is a sacred difference. Neville Goddard taught a technique called the ladder. You test the law gently, without obsession. You say, I will not climb a ladder. And then you simply observe. Life, when left unchoked by urgency, has a rhythm of its own. And that rhythm is your ally, not your enemy. To let go is to practice the state of having, not the chase of earning. It is emotional rehearsal, not mental bargaining. You stop scripting. You stop scanning. You stop measuring your worth by how close the dream appears to be. And instead, you begin to breathe in the frequency of relief, the sensation that it's already done. Surrender is specific. It's the choice to stop asking how, to stop demanding when, to stop questioning your worth every time silence stretches out a little longer than you expected. And in that space, something opens. A current begins to flow. The same current that carried stars into their orbit and breath into your lungs moves toward you, not because you commanded it, but because you matched it. The clenched fist cannot receive, but the open hand, still, quiet, unwavering, is a signal the universe never ignores. It doesn't come with fireworks. It doesn't announce itself. The moment you've truly let go, it's quiet, almost unnoticed. A shift so subtle you might miss it, unless you feel the difference in your breath, because something softens. The inner pressure fades. The questions lose their sharpness. You're no longer looking for signs, not because you've given up, but because you've fallen into alignment. Your state has become the sign. You stop checking the clock. You stop decoding every coincidence like a desperate message. You stop bargaining with time, with God, with the field. And in that release, a strange and sacred paradox emerges. Things begin to arrive when you no longer need them to complete you, when you've remembered that wholeness was never waiting on an outcome. It was always your natural state. Letting go doesn't erase the desire. It transforms your relationship to it. The desire remains, but it no longer commands your nervous system. It no longer speaks with urgency. It begins to feel like a melody you already know, not something you have to chase, but something you're beginning to hum without effort. You lose interest in proof. You start caring more about peace. You don't need the world to show you it's working because you already feel the alignment within. And that shift from seeking to embodying, from grasping to being, is what turns potential into presence. It's the moment the field starts rearranging around you, not because you fought for it, but because you finally became the frequency that matches what was always trying to reach you. The seeker dissolves, and in that stillness, life begins to move. If something inside you feels quieter now, if your breath has slowed, even slightly, if a part of you is remembering something you didn't know you had forgotten, then this moment is not an accident. There is a language beneath words, a resonance that travels through story, through silence, through presence. And sometimes all it takes is one sentence, one shift, to begin untangling what's been locked inside for years. So if this is landing in you, even if you don't yet have words for it, know that your story matters, that your frequency is felt. What you heal in yourself, you ripple into the world. You're not behind, you're not broken, you're not too late. You're just remembering who you are beneath the effort. And that remembering is everything. Your body listens, not just to your words, but to your perception, to the stories you tell in silence, to the frequency beneath your thoughts. As Dr. Bruce Lipton reminds us, your cells respond to your belief about the world, not the world itself. And if your belief is that letting go isn't safe, then even your biology stays in defense. You can say the words, you can repeat the mantras, but if your nervous system is bracing for loss, for danger, for disappointment, then the signal is still survival. And you cannot manifest from survival because the energy of survival is contraction. And contraction repels the very flow you're trying to invite. Safety is not a luxury. It is the soil from which all creation grows. When you feel safe, your brain opens, your heart softens, your cells shift from defense to reception. This is not theory, it is biology, and it is sacred. Gregg Braden speaks of the heart's coherent field. how a single coherent signal from your heart can influence the quantum fabric of reality itself. But coherence doesn't arise through force. It comes through surrender, through deep internal alignment, through the quiet trust that what is meant cannot be missed. So letting go, in the deepest sense, is not just emotional, it is cellular. It is the moment your body stops fighting your future, the moment your breath becomes a bridge, the moment your field relaxes, and the universe responds. A bird does not trust the branch beneath it, it trusts its wings, and so must you, because letting go is not the absence of power, it is the highest form of command. A quiet, unwavering frequency that says, I know it's done. There is a moment, quiet, almost invisible, when something inside you exhales. Not because the world changed, but because you did. This is that kind of moment. Not loud, not urgent, but real. The kind of moment where your cells recognize truth before your mind catches up. Where something ancient inside you nods and says, yes, this is what I've been waiting for. Without knowing I was waiting. Letting go is not something we master in one breath. It's something we remember, slowly, over and over. And in that remembering, we soften, we trust, we rise. If something in these words has moved you, not because they were dramatic, but because they were honest, let that ripple out. Not as a performance, but as a permission. Because somewhere, someone else is still holding on too tightly, still believing they're alone in the letting go. And maybe your story, your resonance, your presence is the exhale they've been waiting for. You are not alone in learning to let go, and neither are they.